Today, Genesis and Three Arrows Capital reach a deal over $1 billion in claims. FTX sues Bybit to recoup nearly $1 billion in its own bankruptcy proceedings. And Naveen Agnihotri explains how his new app uses AI and blockchain to filter out inaccurate information from social media. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Kate Rooney. Digital currencies starting the week mixed. As of noon Eastern, Bitcoin dipped less than 1%, trading below that $37,000 level. Ether rose more than 1.5%, and Solana fell roughly 4.5%. Investors are still making sense of the latest rally in crypto. Cathie Wood of ARK, for instance, just sold off $6 million in Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust. And Crypto World's Tanea McKeel will be talking to her about that crypto strategy in a CNBC Pro Talk tomorrow at noon Eastern. Pro subscribers can submit questions to Cathie over at cnbc.com/protalks. Okay, let's talk about some of the top stories. Genesis has reached a deal on the $1 billion in claims from hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. According to a court filing from last week, 3AC agreed to a $33 million payment to cover its claims against Genesis. The deal would also mutually release both companies from liability. This latest deal is still awaiting final approval, which could come at the end of November. Three Arrows went bankrupt back in the summer of 2022, and Genesis filed its own claim of $1.2 billion over the money it lent the hedge fund. Then in January of this year, Genesis also filed for bankruptcy in the wake of FTX's collapse. And speaking of FTX, advisors for that company's bankruptcy have sued crypto exchange Bybit to recover nearly $1 billion. According to the complaint, which was filed on Friday, FTX wants to recoup funds that Bybit withdrew right before the exchange's collapse. Funds that are now worth more than $950 million. FTX claims that Bybit used its VIP status to access those funds, and that VIP funds were prioritized in the liquidity crunch. We reached out to Bybit about the lawsuit, but haven't heard back yet. Finally, venture capital interest in crypto is on the decline. That's according to PitchBook, which released its third quarter crypto report today. VC interest in digital assets fell more than 28% in Q3 to $1.8 billion. The number of deals also fell nearly 25% to 309. That's the lowest number since late 2020. PitchBook says the drop signifies continued investor caution as tokens like Bitcoin and Ether traded lower in Q3. All right, for our main story, a new app meant to weed out misinformation from social media using AI and blockchain technology is set to launch in the U.S. after Thanksgiving. Crypto World's Talia Kaplan spoke with the app's CEO, Naveen Agnihotri, to find out how it works and why the two technologies might be essential.
Many people on social media come across a lot of news articles, and sometimes it's hard to determine whether they're trustworthy and accurate. But you created an app which aims to solve that problem. It's fittingly called Trust App, and it uses AI and blockchain technology to monitor feeds. And I understand then a green or red check mark is embedded to notify users whether that news article is in fact accurate and trustworthy.
Absolutely.
So how does AI and blockchain technology work exactly to be able to monitor these feeds?
Absolutely. So before we talk about Trust App itself, let's just take a step back and talk about the problem, which is, like you pointed out, misinformation and fake news, right? All of us are just barraged by information from in our social media feeds and everywhere that we look, and it's coming from all different sources, and you never know what to believe or what not to believe. And we sort of looked at this and said, can we use the best of what is out there from a technology perspective, and can we solve the problem? And specifically, we wanted to break the problem into bite-sized chunks and solve it one piece at a time. Right? So the piece that you described is how we're starting out, which is just taking one thing. Can we actually prove or indicate information provenance, right? Which is this person is saying something. Well, is it actually true or not? How likely is it that they're misrepresenting their source? How likely is it that what they're saying is accurate? Can we just put a little mark there, right there in your feed, so that you can just get a quick feel? And if you hover over our check mark, that'll open up a little window where you can actually see our analysis. We'll point you to the original source. We'll say, this is what we think actually happened, and this is what where things are actually right now. So we want to give you a quick view so that it doesn't obstruct what you're doing sort of in your feed. And we also want to, if you want to dig in, you can see what our analysis was and how we arrived at the conclusion that we arrived at.
So why is blockchain technology specifically needed to prove misinformation?
Right. So this is actually an interesting question, right? If you think about it at one level, if I were to tell you, look, you should believe in this, this is suspicious or whatever, the first thing that you should ask as a conscientious consumer is, Naveen, why should I believe you, right? Who am I? Yes, I've been working with AI since 1992, but that doesn't mean that you should believe me. Maybe I have some nefarious intentions of my own. You never know. So the way that we looked at it was, most importantly, from a technological perspective and from a sort of institution perspective, don't believe me, right? So what we do is we actually take pieces of content that are being generated and we mint NFTs for them. We put all the information on chain. And we're doing that already, and we've been doing that for a few months now, right? So the idea is, let's say CNBC publishes some piece of content, a video, publishes an article, whatever it is, we will mint an NFT that is actually owned by CNBC, right? We're just the people who are minting it. And now that information represents a sort of piece of content that is enshrined in stone, is it, right? Because it's in public blockchain. Anyone can point to it. Anyone can go check it out. It can never be deplatformed. It can never be removed. This doesn't apply to CNBC so much because CNBC won't, typically the content won't go anywhere. But in reality, content being generated and then it just goes away. And then you have no idea what was said or what was not said. Somebody takes it back, whatever, right? So our goal is to use blockchain as a permanent storage where we are publicly storing pieces of content. And then when we point you to, in our little analysis that I mentioned earlier, when we point you to a source, we don't say, believe us. We say, look at blockchain. This piece of content was actually minted here. It was originally posted on June 5th or whatever. And that's what we are pointing you to. So blockchain and using blockchain technology is an integral part of what we're doing.
It sounds like it. Well, blockchain and AI are two of the most transformative technologies of our time. And AI specifically has been getting a lot of excitement lately, especially with the advent of things like ChatGPT, that artificial intelligence chatbot. So do you envision more collaborations between AI and blockchain technology?
Absolutely. I think AI has just caught in the public imagination, although it's been around for probably 80 years now, actually, in some shape or other. And there was a sort of an AI winter in the late 20th century that but progress in AI has been very, very rapid in the last 5 years or so. Since the original Transformers paper came out, and progress in blockchain has been very rapid for the past 5 years or so as well. So it's very natural that these two fields, which are sort of the most emerging technologies of today, will work together, will come together in different types of endeavors. We are right now just one of many approaches where you can imagine, so you have a technology that has the ability to store things permanently, to make things ownable in new ways, to make things transfer proofs in interesting ways. And you have a different type of technology that allows you to both understand content and now generate new types of content in completely new ways. It's only a matter of time before these two things come together. And there's many, many models by which this is going to happen. We are just one of them.
So going back to ChatGPT, that was developed by OpenAI, and that company's CEO, Sam Altman, over the summer launched his crypto project called WorldCoin,
Yes.
which did in fact face some backlash over privacy concerns.
Yes.
WorldCoin's identity verification service uses retina scanning.
Yes.
So what was your reaction to that and the concerns over privacy associated with it?
I think those concerns over privacy are well-founded, right? Whenever anybody wants to take your information and put it on chain or put a variant of it or a derivative of it on chain, the question always is who's in charge, who will control the information, and so on. When you put something on blockchain, especially a public blockchain, it's there forever. So it's really important to have the controls in place, to have sort of, either through regulation or through some other means. Yes, I think it's a valid concern. Who's in control of that information? How decentralized is that chain? How will we manage all of this information that is on there now? We can see the potential benefits, but you also have to look at the potential downsides, absolutely.
So you're here in New York City now, but you're based in Singapore, which is a crypto hub. So I'm curious to get your take on what is crypto sentiment there and how does it compare to what you're seeing here in America?
So I'm relatively new in Singapore. We with my family, we sort of YOLO'd to Singapore 5 years ago, and it was nothing connected to crypto actually at all. It was a startup that brought me there. And it has been very interesting to see the difference between a place like Singapore and the US. It's important to say Singapore is not the only place like this, but it's one of a handful of places that recognized very early on that here was a new type of asset class. Here was a new type of way of parties to interact with assets that could revolutionize how asset management is conducted. Right? And cryptocurrencies and these these coins that were created is just one aspect of it. In reality, large asset managers are managing trillions of dollars, and if you can create efficiencies in just the way that these assets are constructed and distributed, you can change the game. So Singapore began a concerted effort right around the time when I moved to Singapore, again, not connected, but they began a concerted effort to attract cryptocurrency people and crypto funds and investors and startups. And there was a massive ecosystem that built up there because they were sort of clearly indicating what was welcome and for builders to come and build there.
Agnihotri, who is also the CEO of Cumberland Labs, an incubator for Web3 and blockchain, provides his 2024 outlook for the spaces. You'll be able to catch his full interview at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. Okay, that's all today for Crypto World. We'll be back again tomorrow with a lot more. We'll see you then.